Hey there, bibliophiles and those raising bibliophiles. Without ratings and warning labels, knowing which books are appropriate for your children to read is like navigating wild terrain without a map or a compass. I don't know about you, but I have been burned more than once handing my child a book that I thought was clean and appropriate for them to read. I'm a fellow mom, educator, reading specialist, and literary enthusiast trying to find great books for my children and yours to read. If you're looking for real reviews from a mom with a biblical worldview, then welcome and enjoy this week's book review. This week's book review is Operation Diamond Fall by Rob Baddorf, and this is book 2 in the Sneaky Ink Spy Adventure series. Picking up where book 1 leaves off, Robin, Anika, Chad, and Isabella are on a new mission. However, they take it much further than the FBI certainly intended them to. Martin Ledger, the antagonist, is up to a new scheme, and Robin and his crew are determined to not only find out what it is, as the FBI instructed, but to actually stop him. Unfortunately, lies within the group and personal fears almost doom the group from the onset. And I'm just going to read a little bit to you of the first couple pages just to kind of get you an idea of the writing style. I did do book 1. And I do have book 3, and I recently found out that I think there's a 4 and a 5. So I'm going to have to get on finishing out that series for you. So this is just a little bit of the opening here. Okay, so Robin had lied to her, to Isabella. She asked who was on the other end of the walkie-talkie, and Robin straight up lied. He honestly didn't see why it was all that big a deal. After all, he lied for her own good. Who was Marlon Ledger to her? Nobody. Just some guy who was overdue his day in federal court. So then why did it still bother him weeks later? Robin pressed the thoughts back down, back under the rug, so to speak. This wasn't the time to deal with them. He had to focus on what was important, not on these silent thoughts, not on the whispers in his mind. Robin glanced at the sunset, stunning, the blending of hues made for a watercolor sky. Pulling on his mask, Robin looked up. The tallest ladder he had ever seen loomed before him, a true stairway to heaven. Robin didn't like heights, never did. Something about being high up made him feel out of control, like he was at the mercy of something else, something he couldn't trust. Gravity? Robin and Chad had snuck into the Empire Hotel construction site. After the team scouted the area and tracked the workers' routines over the last week, now was the time to take advantage of all that intel. Sneaking into the site was easy. A few snips and the boys slipped under the barbed wire fence. Now came the fun part. Or, if you had any amount of healthy fear of heights, the not-so-fun part. Kerclink! An oversized padlock thumped to the ground in a plump of dust. No longer needing the blowtorch, Chad tossed it behind a few bags of concrete. Then he swung open the security gate, barring the entrance to the towering crane. I just need to say, Chad whispered from under his own mask, I have always wanted to climb up one of these construction cranes. I mean, do you have any idea how high up we're going to be? 265 feet. Ha! Can you believe it? Chad said as he began scrambling upward. That's as tall as 26-story building. Beside the brick red hard hat, Chad had on his business uniform, black pants, black shirt, tight fitting, so that nothing could get snagged, and he wore latex gloves so he didn't leave any fingerprints behind. On the first mission with Chad, the kid almost couldn't talk about anything else except how weird the gloves felt. Somehow, Chad had convinced himself that he was allergic to them. He itched all night. It turned out he wasn't allergic to the latex, like most normal people. He was allergic to the thin layer of talcum powder inside. Go figure. Chad handled the rungs of the ladder like he was a natural. He sprinted up the first set of rungs like a monkey, and since Chad hadn't hit his growth spurt yet, his easy scampering only made him look more like a kid on a playground. All except for his bent ears, the tips of them folded down. Don't they say if you hold your eyes crossed for too long, they'll stay that way? Did Chad get bored and hold the tips of his ears down for too long? Robin looked around him. The construction site was empty, just the way they had observed every night that week. He took in a deep breath and climbed the first rung. Were his hands always sweating? Now he only had 264 rungs remaining. So the story obviously opens with Chad and Robin climbing a large crane in order to move it and to sneak onto the roof of an art museum owned by Ledger. Ledger is hosting a spontaneous gala that costs tens of thousands of dollars to attend, with a special item that is up for auction, an almost priceless diamond. Almost, since millions of dollars are bid on it. In their sleuthing, the team discovers the diamond and Ledger's plan to auction it off. In an attempt to stop him, they steal it. However, leaving with such an item proves more difficult than they had expected and planned for. As a result, Robin and Chad are captured. It is from this incident that they realize there's more going on than it seems at first glance. Now they have to figure out a way out, reconvene with the rest of the group, and figure out a way to save everyone involved. In the end, they do survive, but Ledger's plan has not entirely been thwarted. Almost the entirety of this particular installment of the narrative takes place in just one night. It's fast paced. The chapters are not more than 3 or 4 pages, and they are littered with suspense to keep readers hooked and moving through the story quickly. The structure of the novel makes it a great choice if you have a reluctant reader or somebody who's like a struggling reader. It's going to keep them on their toes, and they're going to want to continue to see what's going to happen next. Parents will also be happy to know that this book is free of profanity or any unsavory details. Robin clearly has a crush on Isabella, but nothing develops, and there are only mentions of her being beautiful and possibly taking her on a date. The characters are 14 for a little more context. There are several biblical tie-ins as Robin has to face his own personal struggle throughout the story, mainly about the lies that he has told members of his team. He does seek to justify himself, but in the end, he does confess and seek forgiveness from everyone involved. Anika is trying to pray for guidance and help, but as someone seeking and just beginning to learn about God and Christianity, she's kind of unsure of herself. Isabella is hesitant and kind of standoffish about God and not caring to know or involve herself too much, at least in the text, that's what's seen. Chad continues to be the comedic relief in the story, and he seems to have a similar firm faith like Robin. Overall, it's a great book. If you have a reader who loves adventure, who loves a little bit of mystery, then I would definitely consider adding this book to their list. You definitely, though, need to read book 1 before you read book 2. It's definitely not a standalone. So I hope that helps you as a parent trying to find which books are clean and appropriate for your children to read, and that you'll join me next week for another book review.